Hey there, Independent Scientologists! Discover a new perspective to your bridge by visiting ao-gp.org. Get in session with remote auditing using the theta meter. Are you curious about where you stand? Head on over to ao-gp.org now and take our free personality test. Join the growing group of independent Scientologists today.
Hi, and welcome to another Scientology Outside of the Church podcast brought to you by the Advanced Org of the Great Plains, ao-gp.org. I'm here with Quentin Stroud. This is season 7, episode 10. And this one is going to be, how much does it cost to be a Scientologist? This should be an interesting episode for people because it's not what you think. And of course, we're looking at this from an independent Scientology standpoint and rear view mirrors on what both of us have paid to be in the corporate church of Scientology versus what we've paid to be independent Scientologists. So we're going to start this off with Quentin's narrative on his experience, and I'll give mine, and then we'll do some Q&A back and forth with each other and get the ball rolling. So
Totally.
when did you get
Well,
when did you get started, and how did expense enter into the equation for you, Quentin?
yeah. So for me, I was 19 years old in Minneapolis, Minnesota, just walking downtown Minneapolis, and I had heard of Scientology, of course, through various channels, celebrities, or whatever. And when I saw it, I saw it before when I was in. Uh, no, that's not true. The first time I saw Scientology was actually in Minneapolis, and so I walked in. And I took a personality test and I purchased the book, A New Slant on Life. So that was my first spin. Oh, I'm
Mm-hmm.
now in it, right? And I can't remember how much it was back then. Maybe it was like $15, I guess, $10, $15 at the time,
Mm-hmm.
2002.
That's cheap.
And yeah, and that was my first spin. And from there, I did do a few courses, but I didn't do anything right away. I think I only did one course in Minneapolis, and that was I think $35 at the time. So now I'm in for 45 bucks. and and that was my journey. And after that, I didn't do anything in Scientology until 2006. So from 2002 to 2006, I had done one course and read a book. And then I purchased Dianetics, and the story kind of goes on from there. I would say for me, I've always been an avid reader. I've always been a lover of knowledge, and just in the process of buying books and like that was very real to me, right? Um, I could go to Books a Million and drop 100 bucks.
Yeah,
Books a Million is a bookstore in America.
easy.
I could go to Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, and drop 100 bucks on books and have a wonderful time. And they were always typically self-help. I wasn't really a big fiction reader, so nonfiction self-help was really my genre anyway. So it was an easy sale, if you will, if you want to say sale. It was an easy sale to me to buy a book called A New Slant on Life, and it was an easy sale to me to sign up for a course. And I think at the time, um, yeah, it wasn't expensive at all, and that's how I got started.
Mm-hmm.
So for 45 bucks for 4 years.
And then you did the once you bought the Dynetics book. That's after that followed the auditing that you did co-audit wise, right?
Correct. So when I moved down to Atlanta is when I met my friend Joseph. And when I met my friend, he was an active Scientologist at the Atlanta org. And that's how we just started two-way coming. And he reintroduced me to Scientology because I had already known about it, but had not been done anything for years. And then that's when I bought Dianetics. I did and I got the DVD. I got the book and the DVD and read it. So now I'm in for about 100. And then that was it. And I co-audited it for years on Dianetics Book One co-auditing. and never once had to do anything, that I didn't want to do. I did do the uh, PV&I, personal values and integrities course.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it kind of grew from there. But again, we're talking about over the span of like 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm only spent about 150 bucks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I started going in.
And then that was it until you started doing services with
Wh-
AOGP. Is that right?
Well, no, when I really after PV&I
Mm-hmm.
had a lot of huge wins after, getting off over some withholds and just really like freeing that space up, right? So I had personal wins off of going on course. And so that really, really got me feeling very good about that. So going on course was my thing for from 2006, 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, for 8 years. Uh, is I was really, really big on going on course.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say I probably did a course every 3 months, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like 50 bucks. I'm talking about like in the aura course, like 50 bucks. Um, every 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So in a year, I might spend, 200 bucks in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, all the while I'm going to my church because I'm a, Christian minister, the whole thing or whatever. And I was tithing 10% of my income to my church.
Which ended up
Like,
being more.
I mean, I'm just saying problems of comparable magnitude, right? Like
Right.
I was tithing 10% of my income to my church and spending 50 bucks every 3 months on, getting courses and having market gains as I would do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so in 2015 is when I really started hitting my bridge activity really serious, like hardcore. And that's when I did HQS,
Mm-hmm.
and HQS was like 250, if I recall correctly. I think it was like 250 bucks.
Hubbard
And then I
qualified
did,
Scientologist course.
I'm sorry, correct. Yes. Hubbard Qualified Scientologist course. And it was a pretty thick course pack.
Mm-hmm.
And, it dealt with objectives. It dealt with, a lot of theory and a lot of academy stuff. So that felt really good because I feel like I was now like, okay, I'm really going up.
Mm-hmm.
With the HQS, I
Right.
felt very happy about that. And then I did the Purif. Now the Purif was my first big gulp,
Yeah.
and I gulped. And I will say this: I did gulp when I did the Purif, um, and that was 1,500,
Yeah. That's what I was
one thousand
thinking.
five hundred, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 1,500. I think it's gone up since to 2,500 now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was $1,500, and I was like, golly, I can work out for free. I mean, I could just,
Right.
but that was my first big gulp. And lastly, before I left the corporate church, lastly, I did um me and my 2D, we did marriage
Mm-hmm.
counseling, and we bought two intensives of marriage counseling. And that ended up being about 10,000, 5,000, 5,000. Yeah, I think it was about 10,000. Um, but we definitely needed it because it was going to be a lot more expensive doing it, going a different route. And
Right.
so we did the marriage counseling for about 10 grand. It might have been a little cheaper than that because we also did life repair. And so, but I didn't do the life repair. My 2D did. So yeah, it was probably under 10 grand for the marriage counseling itself, which is the only thing that I did.
Right. Which would be
And
5 on your side of the ledger.
correct, right? If we look at it that way, yeah. So it'd be 5 and 5. So now I'm in at about, let's see, 5,000, 1,500, and then some courses for some years. So all in all, my whole spend so far in corporate Scientology was probably about 10 grand total.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. hmm
Well,
and I can attribute much of my success to just reading the books, doing doing the courses, and that whole thing, because that was really where I got most of my life skills,
mm-hmm.
right? Which is what I think training is about. So you know how. So I got much of my life know-how from training and studying. Um, and then with the co-audit that we did, which is basically free with my twin, with the co-audit that we did, I got most of my gains mentally, emotionally, spiritually, if you will. I got most of my gains from the co-audit, which was basically free for me. So I tell this story, and I'm glad that you did this podcast, because I there is a way to win and not feel like you have to be at a loss, if you will, to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think that most people get kind of freaked out about, is like, why is there a fee or a cost associated with one's spiritual progress?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, but that's always been my life. I
Yeah.
mean,
It ain't
me
no,
being a churchgoer,
ain't nothing free.
right? Me being a churchgoer, I remember when I was a child, my mom would hand us $25 to go and put me and my brother to go and put in the collection basket for church, and she would
Mm.
hand us boom boom boom. And I remember looking at my mom's paychecks, not paycheck stuff, W-2, looking at my mom's W-2 and seeing how much money she made in a year, and it was a big deal that every single service, and we did three a week. We went to service three times a week. Every single church service we went to, we were putting money in the collection plate, you know? And so I can't even fathom how much, comparatively it would be. But so far in corporate Scientology, I'm in at about 10 grand. My entire books, all the books and lectures were actually given to me, were actually gifted to me, should I say. So I did not have to actually pay for those. A lady saw that I was really rocking and rolling on my bridge, and I was a really good Scientologist. I was very studious, and I was really excited. She was like, you know what? I got you.
Mm.
And she ended up paying for my entire basic books and lectures. Yeah. So that was pretty cool.
So roughly
But that's my
10,000.
story.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Well, for me, it was
Over 22 years.
right.
Mhm.
Well, mine would be gosh, 88, 98, 2008,
Oh, it
2018,
was cheap back then. It was like a quarter.
2018. So that's 35 years for me.
Mm.
And I got started after a, a, a breakup with a gal that I was living with, mother of my first daughter. And it was either go to Berkeley School of Music or get trained as an auditor and co-audit. And I decided that I wanted to get trained as an auditor, and I went in and asked them about it and how much it'd be, and my eyes got as big as saucers. And I wasn't real savvy about loans and stuff like that. I'd only taken out one loan prior to that, so I just thought, geez, how am I going to do this? And so they said, well, you could be on staff and you get trained as an auditor. I'm like, what? And I was 18 at the time, fresh out of high school, and
Mhm.
18 going on 19. And so I paid for the basic study course or basic study manual, and that was, I think, like $50 or something like that. And I did that, and then they talked me into joining staff. I signed the contract, and I went back home to my mom and dad's where I was staying temporarily. And my dad said, well, you should have talked to me first. I would have gotten you a loan. I'm like, are you shitting me? And it was already too late. So I was like, well, I guess I'm committed. I signed this agreement, this contract. And it was about a month later, I went to
How
flag.
how long was your contract?
was 5 years, and it was 5 years, which is typical. It's 5 years after your training. So depending on what kind of auditor training you're going to do, it could be, 6 months. In my situation, it was 6 months, and then but somebody like John Nunez was with us on staff, and he was on staff with AOGP. He was there right after I left for 7 years. 7 years
Training?
because he fell in the golden age of tech release and was had to redo the briefing course, if you can believe that, which is a year-long course, 10 to 10 every day. See, so he did the briefing course twice, got lots of auditing, all that stuff. I have no idea what his bill was, but it was nothing compared to mine. And so I was there. I was at Flag, and got my auditor training from Student Hat. Well, it was actually ProTRs first, because ProTRs was first on the bridge at that time. Student Hat, ProTRs, Method 1 co-audit, OEC 0, Upper Indoc TRs, Welcome to the Flag internship course, and then Academy levels 0 through 4. And I was student of the week 6 weeks in a row, nearly kicked out. I had up statistics, and when they were going to kick me out, because I had gone out on a couple of dates with a Sea Org member, which I didn't know was prohibited. A few weeks later, they called me in and were going to kick me out. And the qual consultant said, "So what have you been doing?" And I showed him my graph, which was in Power, and my check sheet and my student of the week certificates that I got. And he took the routing form and he tore it in half, threw it in the trash can, and said, "Keep your nose clean, get back on course." So there was some justice in 1988, and I'm really proud of that. And so my freeloader's debt, when I left staff a little less than 2 years later, which is a whole other story that we won't get into right now, but I said, "See, I can't do this anymore." My freeloader's debt was about $30,000 for my training at Flag. Fast forward from 1990 to 1998, Golden Age of Tech came out in 96. They were offering specials to anybody who paid off the freeloaders debt, because my debt was to the Flag Service Organization. It was not to my org. My org, I had other courses: staff status 0, staff status 1, staff status 2, exec status 1, exec status 2. Might have been something else in there, and that was probably, I don't know, it was a couple thousand. I think it was like $3,300. I managed to pay off my auditor training to Flag, and I got it for $13,500. That's how much it cost me in the church. 13,500, 14, 15, 16, let's say 17.
That was the special, or that was what you paid to your local work?
That was the special at Flag. So altogether, I paid about $18,000 for all of my auditor training, my admin training, everything.
Nice.
And, yeah. So that was a really good deal. And I did go to the ship, and I did State of Man Congress, and that was, I think, $5,000 in 1998. So then you're looking at 23,000 there. And then I did the ethics specialist course, which I think was 2,500. So that puts it at what, 26, 27 and a half. And then I did some of the Golden Age of Tech stuff, the Golden Age of Tech student hat course. I didn't have to do the e-meter course. And then I did the update to ProTRs with the clay table training on it. And that was another 2,500, because I got half price rates because I was a class 4 auditor, but paid through class 5. So you add class 5 onto it. About $33,000 roughly for all
that's your full total
training. Yeah, within the church.
Right.
So and to me, all of that equaled a college education and then some.
Right. Yeah, no, it's interesting because, I always call Scientology, the study of Scientology, a spiritual university. And when I look at my degree, um, which, I went to school for marketing and PR, and I use it, but I haven't used it like career wise. I
Mm-hmm.
do use the information, but I haven't used it career wise. And uh, the debt that I amassed with student loans is like it's like maybe 10 times almost what I put into Scientology.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like 7 times what I put into Scientology. And so I'm like, yeah. And I made more money with with the information I have in Scientology.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing, and I was going to mention, I was just sitting here thinking about it, and we have people say, "Why do you have to pay for auditing? Why do you have to pay for these courses?" And
Mhm.
one of the things that is important to mention to me uh, is in all of the people that I've given things to pro bono, free,
Mhm.
all of the people that I've given things to free to help them out and everything. And this is no joke. Not one person has ever finished it.
Right.
Isn't that interesting?
The free stuff ain't get done.
Yeah, because and this may be to maybe coarse to say this, but it's because there's no skin in the game.
Hmm.
And the thing is this gets into the whole Scientology datums of, there's three types of exchange, which is, exchange in abundance, fair exchange, and criminal exchange. And
Hmm.
you have to keep an exchange in, because I can tell you firsthand, Jamie can tell you firsthand, you can tell me firsthand, auditing ain't easy when you're
Oh
delivering.
gosh.
You
Yeah.
you get out of session and you're having to be on point. You have to
Yep.
be there at all times. And I'll get done with 5-7 sessions a day and I am wiped out. And that's just the auditing side of it. There's the gains that you get on the auditing side are tremendous, but it's something that you can't do for free, because what people don't understand is, if they haven't had auditing, is that what you're getting from auditing is something you can't get, in my estimation, and you can agree or disagree, and that's fine if you disagree. You can't get anywhere else.
Yeah.
And when you do that for somebody for free, and it's not a co-audit situation where it's a turnabout basis, I audit you, you audit me, I audit you, you audit me, like you did for over 400 hours. That's an
Hmm.
exchange. Co-audit is an exchange. But and the distinction needs to be made: what the church is delivering, what AOGP delivers in independent Scientology, what other independent Scientologists deliver. You're looking at different things. The church has the modifications, the changes to the tech, where you have to have a 3-swing FN, a floating needle, which means you've hit the end phenomena of that particular auditing procedure, along with very good indicators and a cognition or an epiphany or realization.
Hmm.
This sort of thing, you can't find it anywhere else. And in the church, they've changed it to where the needle has to swing 3 times. So you're overrunning the person, and the auditor is bypassing a win. So you're paying for something, and to note, AOGP's prices are a quarter of what the church charges. You can confirm that.
Yes, that's true.
And this is something that people need to understand. The church is a really expensive. LRH had a policy where he said no more than 10% of a person's income, which is what you mentioned of what you did
Yes.
outside of the church. He said it should never be more than 10% of the general person's income, and not be put out of reach. And that is what the church has done. So much
Mhm.
so, and they've abused the system so much so that MasterCard had so many chargebacks with the church because they've mishandled people, they've misaudited people, that they will no longer allow the church to use MasterCard to pay for services. This happened a few years
Mhm.
ago. So there is a fair
Wow.
exchange, there is a exchange in abundance, and there is a criminal exchange. That would be a criminal exchange. Now, the people in the church, and this is something they need to understand, people listening in the church that listen to this podcast, this doesn't mean that you didn't get anything from the auditing, but you sure could have gotten a lot more. Whereas if you were getting a proper floating needle, you wouldn't be overrun on things or doing things that LRH never created, like a survival rundown, that type of thing. And so, you need to be careful. Know before you go, like LRH says, which is a case supervisor series technical bulletin, but it applies. You need to know what it is that you're getting and how they're delivering it before you do, which we've done a podcast on as well. But the cost of auditing and what it costed me to be an auditor, what it costed you to get the gains that you got and be an auditor, they're mere pennies on the dollar for what we got out of it. And
Right.
and whether it was in the church or it's outside of the church, I paid for a lot of services outside of the church once I got out, but it was a fraction of what the church charges. So,
Well, and when you find somebody who is a very learned Scientologist in the sense that they know how to do, like yourself, very trained in how to do it. It is a good exchange to say, hey, listen, you've done all this training, you've gotten all these skills that you have mastered and been qualified to do and stuff like that. Um, how much do you charge for an intensive? How much is a session? How much is the sessions with you? How do I get started? It's
yeah,
a good thing because not only is it validating to say like, hey, listen, all that time and energy that you put into it is not for nothing, but
mm-hmm,
it's also it says like, hey, I need help or I want to improve in some area of my life. And if you can help me, I'm willing to help you. You scratch my back, I scratch yours kind of thing.
right, yeah. I mean, we got to keep the lights on, we got to keep the internet on, we got to keep all of the services on that we give to people for free on the website, and keep the servers running, online course room running, the Oracle, the AI Oracle that we have that has all of LRH's material on it, all the podcast service, the SoundCloud with all the lectures on it, 4,861 lectures that gets a couple thousand hits a week, that took a month and a half to put up for everybody for free. I mean, these are things that have to be paid for. That's just overhead, and nobody really
Yeah.
understands all of the effort and the work that goes into this stuff. But I mean, it's still not that much. But there's an awful lot of behind the scenes time that goes on to get trained as an auditor, to get trained as a course supervisor. You doing the over 400 hours of book one auditing that you did, and you could take somebody in and you could handle them like a champ on book one. And I mean, there's a lot of time that's involved in this, and this is something I wanted to touch on real quick. Time is money.
Hmm.
Time is money, and I'm not looking at this from the viewpoint of like a lawyer who says, okay, well, this is billable, you're talking to me for half an hour, this is my rate, this comes off of the retainer that you gave me, and you're like, wait, wait, what? I just talked to you. No, 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 no. We don't do that. But the thing is you look at all of the experience that you've had, both in learning it and applying it, and helping people with it. Same goes for me and everybody here at AOGP. There are tens of thousands of hours that it takes to get this stuff and really understand how to do it and deliver it properly. And you can't deliver something like that for free, because nobody else would. I mean, even a Catholic priest has to eat.
Well, let me say something. So I was having a conversation with this guy who used to go to my church, and he was asking me about doing some work with doing a session with me, and I told him what the rate was, and he goes, "Oh, no, 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 I don't pay for spiritual." He said, "I don't
Yeah, I
pay for
remember you
spiritual
telling me
work."
that. Yeah.
You said, "Yeah." He said, "I don't pay for spiritual work," and I said, "Oh, what do you mean?" He said, "Well, if you're," he said, "because you're doing God's work, it should be free. You're doing God's work, it should be free," is what he said. And I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Well, what do you do?" And he told me what he did for a living. I said, "Well, if I'm doing God's work, then whose work are you doing?"
Hmm.
because because he was trying to make it like
Right.
there's a distinction between how I eat and how you eat. We both chew just like each other. Like I might have a little bit more teeth than you got, but we still chewing it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he was like, "You doing God's work, it should be free." And I said, "Well, if I'm doing God's work, whose work are you doing? Because you don't do it for free."
Hmm.
And he looked
Right.
at me and he just started laughing. I was like, "Exactly, exactly. We both
Hmm.
doing God's work. Even if you bagging groceries at the grocery store, you doing God's work. You're
Right.
doing good work. You're helping somebody out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so if you're helping somebody out, you deserve to get paid for it.
Hmm.
You deserve
Yeah.
to be some exchange for it."
Yeah. So it's and then that's the crux of the matter is that LRH said the work was free, keep it so, and he paid for all of the research and everything he did on his own merits with his own
Hmm.
writings. And that's pretty noble to do. And at a certain point he divested himself of the actual uh body of the church and said, okay, now you guys run it, and I'm going to go off and do my researches, and then I'm going to give you that research. And he continued to do that until he died. So
Hmm.
that's a very noble thing to do, and you don't see that very often. But nobody works for free. But the thing is that it's pennies, if not less, that you on the dollar that you're getting for the gains that you get. If you, and this is the point, is that you've got to put in the work yourself.
Yeah.
Scientology is the only thing I've ever seen that, even if you don't believe it, which is a whole other podcast, and we should
Right.
we should write that down.
Yes.
Even if you don't believe it, it still works on you. Now, have you run into anything else like that you could say does that? I know that there are, but I'm asking you, and I hope I'm not putting you on the spot because we didn't talk about this
No.
first podcast. Have you?
No. Well, what I'll say is this. I'll say that any spiritual principle that one practices gets the result, right?
Hmm.
Any spiritual principle that one practices, and it is a practice. You said about doing the work. What I say is Scientology is the path that one takes, whether it be applied religious philosophy, whether it be your religion, or
Hmm.
whether it be something that you do in complement to what your faith walk is, which is where I kind of stand, right?
Hmm.
Um, if you put this in place, if you show up, right? I think my spiritual teacher used to say, "It works if you work it.
Hmm.
It works if you work it."
Yeah.
And that's what I found, and that's why for 22 years I've been working it, and it's been working for me in various areas of my life.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
And it's a testament to the technology that even in the corporate church of Scientology, it's that good of a technology that even though it's diluted and it's watered down and it's been altered and everything, that people still get big gains out of it. And that's
Yeah.
really interesting to see that can happen. And it's important to note that the more you put into it, because money is energy. You put that energy into it, and okay, so this opens the door and lets me walk inside the portcullis of a castle. Now, what are you going to do once you're in
Hmm.
the castle? Do you think the king if you were a guest, you could stay for a while, but eventually he's going to say, you've been
Right.
been here a little long. And you could
Do
probably come up with
something.
some biblical stuff on that with your database that you have on that you
Well,
need to do something. What is it that you're doing that's contributing to my kingdom, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
well, it's interesting because if you read scripture, Jesus told his disciples, "Don't carry with you purse or coin." He said, "For the worker is worth his hire."
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so, even talking to those who are going out and supposed to be preaching the gospel, hallelujah, praise the Lord, right? Those who are supposed to be preaching the gospel, like it was said, don't take any money with you, for the worker is worth his hire. You're supposed to be hired to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to be exchanged. He said, eat what they give you to eat, drink what they give you to drink. If they put you in the room, that they put you in a room. There's a whole story about the upper room and being able to stay in the upper room, like all this stuff. But the idea is that if you're going to be doing this salvific work, if you're going to be doing this work to help all these people that you're here called to help,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to worry about eating. You don't have to worry about living. You don't
Right.
have to worry about being. Your substance and your sustenance is already there, and it's there because you have dedicated yourself to this journey. And as an auditor, you are dedicated. I mean, I see the hours that you put in,
Mm-hmm.
hours and hours and hours every day almost, that you put in to do this work. You're dedicated.
Mm-hmm.
And so you should never have to worry about a light bill.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. I even I even last December, one of our public said, I've got this oh, what was it? What I told you about it. It was a uh they're gurus in India, and
Oh
they
yeah,
did
yep.
what was the astrology? It was it Vedic astrology?
Vedic
Yeah.
astrologer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I gave him my information and everything. I thought, okay, this will be fun. I want to see. And he said to me, he said, so here's what's going to happen. And I'll skip just to the point that's germane to the whole thing. He said to me, he said, so when you shuffle off your mortal coil this time around, you're going to level up because you've paid your dues. And I just said, I'm an auditor. I did, I do services for other people, and I help them gain and climb up the ladder of spirituality. And he just said, you're going to level up and you're going to move on to the next universe. And I was like, that's really interesting that he said that. Now I'm not saying
Yes.
it. I'm not saying it's, I can either confirm or deny that, but I thought that was interesting, that even, and you know more about this than I do by a long shot, but even in India, they get this, what we're talking
Yeah.
about. They get it. And
Yeah.
that's the thing, is that it's not just about what you have, oh man, I'm having to pay this money. And even if it's independent Scientology rates, I'm having to pay this money to do this. And I've had, when I was traveling around in a class A motorhome and all this stuff, I'd get to people's places and they'd pay me for the services. And I'm not joking. This is not me being critical. This was observed by other people, and they pointed it out to me. And they said, have you ever noticed that these problems that you have when you go to other people's places and they pay for your services, that they think they own you?
Oh yeah.
have
Yeah.
you have you run into that in your line of work?
Oh, absolutely. When they book a session, when they book some work with you or whatever, absolutely. They think that now I got access. And I'm like, well, no, there's still protocol. There's still ways of doing things the right way, everything in order and decency. But yeah, no, they do. They think they own you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you've traveled all the way to Nevada, and so I got you where I want you, and you're going to do this for me, and you're going to do this for me, and all this stuff. And my point of all of this is it's, what you're paying to do something with somebody who is very well trained and very experienced in the area, and they're there to help you and burn the midnight oil to make sure that you get what it is L. Ron Hubbard says you're supposed to get the way he said you were supposed to get it. But, and this is but, capital BUT, you have to put in the work. You have to be there. You have to burn your own midnight oil. Think about the processes, keep your body rudiments in, make sure you're fed, well slept, well read, that you understand what it is that we're doing, and pay attention and all of this stuff. And this is the level of exchange. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast is, yeah, it's exchange for somebody to pay you for services. But the thing is people have this myopia. And I hope everybody understands what that word is. It's myopia. We have a
This
myopic
narrow-minded,
viewpoint,
not narrow view.
a narrow view, that it's this first dynamic I, me, mine thing. And that's, that's fine. And you're trying to get up the
Yeah.
bridge and realize that you're in Scientology because there's something you want to get handled. That's the truth. But the thing is the exchange happens in auditing and in training, not in it manifests in the physical universe, but it manifests in the theta universe to manifest in the physical universe. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, listen. Oh, you are preaching truth right now. Let me say,
Hallelujah,
what he just
amen.
said, amen. What he just said, hear me, is the God's honest truth. When you sow a seed, you reap a harvest.
Mm-hmm.
You hear me? And so the way I've always looked at it, and this is why I had absolute no problem regging onto a course, no problem buying a book, no problem getting in a chair. I had absolutely no problem doing it, because when you sow a seed, you reap a harvest.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and Jonathan, you can attest, when in our two-way comm about getting started with services, it was a very quick comm cycle, wasn't it? It was a
Yeah,
very
it was
quick reg
short.
cycle. You said, listen, this is what we can do for you. Boop, 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 boop. You laid the whole thing out. I said, let me pay for the whole bridge. Here you
Mm-hmm.
go.
Mm-hmm.
I said, let me just do it now. And did it take a bite? It took a bite.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, it took a bite. But I was willing to bite it because I know I'm gonna eat forever. And
Mm-hmm.
and this is the thing, guys, you get this? When you sow a seed, you reap a harvest. This is what my spiritual teachers always tell me: seed in the ground, tree comes up, fruit on the tree, and more seed in the fruit.
That's right. And that's exactly what I'm saying. Is
Yes,
you get a pass, and the king says, yeah, you can come into the castle. Hey, by the way, we're having a big shindig tonight and everything, and it's on me. But he, in order to stay in the castle and rub shoulders and everything like that, there's some exchange that has to happen. And that exchange, it's not just with the person that you pay to get in there and do it is one thing. To do it for yourself, and all of the
yes,
other dynamics, are these urges through survival, through yourself, through your love, your parents, your kids, your significant other, your group, the planet as a whole. These are all dynamics. and
yes.
and it's on you. The onus is on you, that once you've paid for something, you do right by yourself by putting in the time and putting in the work, and not expecting somebody else to do the heavy lifting. And if I
And to
had to,
manage it for you, and to, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And make sure you have good Wi-Fi.
yeah, especially upload speeds for
That's an
Zoom.
inside joke. Because that's an inside joke, guys. Because so this is the thing: if you don't have good Wi-Fi, it can mess up the read. So just make sure you got some good Wi-Fi. Make sure you really track it with it, because I want to make sure you get the best reads, the best results possible
Right.
when you're doing LGP auditing,
Yeah, you
because
gotta have
that was my biggest issue.
you got to have real time video, and you got to have a good upload speed. And the auditing works remotely, that. And all of
Yeah. Oh
all
God,
of our
I
public know.
love it.
And it's a brave new world to deliver auditing to anybody on the planet that has a decent internet connection, a camera, a microphone, a theta meter, and they're willing to put some skin in the game, and they're willing to then play the game in order to win, because you have to put in the work. You have to sit there and you have to look at these things, confront these things, whether it's auditing or in training. And I'm gonna beat the drum here for just a second. Most of the money that we've earned, and the OT levels are courses as well, and we've sold a lot of OT levels and delivered them to excellent result. Those are courses, and I'm not including that in what I'm about to say. But most of the income that AOGP sees comes from auditing. It doesn't come from training. And this is
Yes.
the thing that needs to be gotten across. To the degree that you enable AOGP and any other independent Scientology organization that delivers training, that money is going towards trying to make other auditors. And when we're auditing you, it's enabling not only you, and this has everything to do with what we were just talking about, is this auditing expands out across your dynamics, and it opens flows with you and others on 8 different flows. A flow is a direction of energy, you to others, others to you, you to yourself, others to others, another to others, others to another, so on and so forth. When you get auditing, that's what that does. But the training side of it is the other 50%. And this is the thing that getting people to push through and get this training, so that if they decide to get auditor training, they're doing the same thing, and it spreads out like a tsunami, and it creates a safe environment that allows AOGP and any other independent Scientology organization to fan out, because we've got more people standing shoulder to shoulder, as LRH put it. And training is so very important. And it's also important because training doesn't cost as much as auditing, and it doesn't take as much time if you put in the work. You just have to decide, stick to it, keep a regimen in, and get on course, because now you understand how to stay out of the soup. You know what not to do. Auditing handles the stuff that the soup that you were already in. Training keeps you out of the soup permanently, and that helps grow more trees, that grow more fruit, that make more seeds, that go in the ground, and so on and so forth. But you
Yes.
can't answer questions for people and things like that. You can say, well, you know what, I had these realizations in auditing, and okay, that's great. But when you can sit there and you can explain something to somebody, and you pique their interest, and they want to go buy a book like you did, even like I did,
Mm-hmm.
that's the important thing. And all of the books that LRH wrote originally without the alterations are available on our site for free. You don't have to buy a thing. You can download them. You can get on our page.
See, this is amazing.
You can yeah,
Just-
you can,
just-
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I was just about to ask you. Let's just, because I'm from Alabama, right? And you got to talk plain to me, right?
Mhm.
So, how do we make this as simple as possible for those people who have gotten to this point in the podcast and listened all the way through, to see, like, how do I make this easy for me? So what I'm hearing you say is, number one, you got access to all the books that you need. You can read the books right through the AOGP college, right?
Mhm.
They can download the books through the
Yeah, they can
website.
download the books. They can download the technical volumes, the OAC, the admin tech, the course supervisor, which is in the technical volumes, and all this stuff. And and I'm going to make another point when you get done, how all this stuff ties together. But go ahead.
Hmm.
Everything's available that's not confidential, and there's a reason for that. And we talked about that in a past
Yeah.
podcast. But anyway, go ahead.
No, I love it. Okay, good. So they have access to all of those things. So what you're saying is that your first exchange is really to yourself. Your first flow is to yourself, because
Exactly.
you have the knowledge, but now you have to sit down and do the reading. You have to
Hmm.
study. You have to clear your words. You have to make sure you got the tech, right? You got it in. So your first flow is really to yourself. I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna learn this stuff, right?
Hmm.
Well, then after you learn something and you just do your general reading, clearing your words or whatever, that you now have courses through the college that you can actually register for, pay for courses that give you more advanced tech, advanced theory, advanced practicals, where you can actually now start to really apply this stuff in your life. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
You,
so
there's no
what are some of
expense.
those courses?
Well, we've got the basic study course, which is our version of the basic study manual. We've got basic Scientology principles, how to resolve arguments, the basic communications course. Gosh, there's another at least 4 or 5 of them that we have that are all free, and student hat is free, which in the church you get free if you do a major course. We've made it free, but the thing is student hat is probably the hardest course you'll ever do in Scientology, because
Yes, a
that
lot.
that 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 makes you, you know, an excellent student, and it really takes a lot of confront, because study is the reason why people don't want to do courses, because they don't know the tech behind it, and Scientology makes everything easy on a gradient. You just have to make sure you clear up your words and everything. And that's what we're here for. We do standard star rate checkouts, method 9 word clearing, method 4 word clearing, all 9 methods we do. And we can help you with all of that. But the thing is you got to show up. 50%
Yeah,
50% of the battle is you got to show up, because there isn't this massive expense that's incurred with the church. It's here, folks. It's here online. You could be on a mountaintop in, uh, anywhere that had, and I just read about this the other day, within the year, Elon Musk, he's made a deal with T-Mobile and other cellular phone companies, that with Starlink, his satellites that orbit the earth, they're filling in all of the holes that T-Mobile and all of the other carriers have in the US and worldwide, because they have these satellites in low Earth orbit. So what this means is that you literally can do Scientology sitting out on the big rock in the middle of Australia in a tent, as long as you've got some solar battery chargers and stuff like that. And you could take somebody in session, or you could read Fundamentals of Thought and be on course. I mean, for free on some of these courses. What's stopping you is you.
yeah.
You just need to
So,
decide to do it.
so this is really good. So what I'm hearing you say is that really your first. I'm not gonna put a time frame on it, but of a good chunk of your wins and your gains can come from free access to tech that LR8 said the knowledge is free, keep it free. So the free access to tech that can really help people where they are on their level of awareness, right? At their level of awareness,
Mm-hmm.
awareness characteristics. And so I can start getting help with my finances. I can start getting help with my relationships and my marriage. I can start getting help with the things that I know right now I need some support in. I need some help with. I need to understand better communication. I need to communicate better. I can
Yep.
start getting help with those things. And so I don't have to drop anything really. I don't have to pay anything money wise, dollars and cents, to get access to some help. Now, I do have to show up and I do have to put my time in on it. You put your time in, you gotta put your time in on it. But when I do this, I'll start to see those results. Now, once I start to see those results, once my money comes up, once my marriage is better, once my communication and my confront is up, once I'm
Mm-hmm.
able to do more, you have to
Mm-hmm.
able become more able. I can then say, you know what? I want to go even deeper. I want to go even higher. I want to get even more wins. And that's when you can start getting auditing, where you say, like, what would be a good place for a person to start if they want to now say, okay, I've done a lot for free. What can I do now to go even deeper, higher? What would that look like as far as auditing goes? How would you determine where they would start?
Well, that comes down to, the chart of awareness on the Scientology grade chart. which is also available on our website. And if you're to the point to where you're listening to this podcast, you've either realized or recently realized or had an interest once you realized need for change. And to the degree that you read the data and you understand it and you clear your words on it in any of the basic books that are free on the free courses, and another one of the free courses is the Ups and Downs and Life course, which over 90% of the people that do our personality test need to do post-COVID to understand what suppression and why it's affecting them, and why one day they feel like they can be on course and one day they feel like they can't. That's ups and downs. That's because you're a potential trouble source. They're very short courses, but very powerful courses. And you just have to say, my life could be better. And you have to at least get a little reading in to where you're like, there's some truth to this. That's the point. That's the answer to your question. Yeah. There's some truth to this. I've applied something in my life. It's made it better. What else have you got, Ron? Okay. And it just expands like an upside down pyramid, and the sky's the limit. And I want to make a point. What do you need to do something like this? Okay, you need a cheap smartphone or better. You need an internet connection. Once you have a smartphone or a tablet, which, anywhere in the world you can get a halfway decent tablet or a halfway decent cheap smartphone for $100 used on Facebook Marketplace, for example, or buy a new one. It depends on where you're at. Realities are relative. You can go into Starbucks. You can go into any place that has free Wi-Fi. You can go into a public library. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a smartphone, and I don't know how you'd be listening to this podcast if you didn't have some sort of a digital device within this day and age. But that's all you need. That's all you need, other than the willingness to start and do it, because it's not going to cost you $30,000 or what was your amount? $10,000.
About 10,000.
Yeah, it isn't. That's how efficient it is, and you can get started. You can even do student hat for free, which opens the door to everything else. Are you kidding me? That's crazy. Kidding me that you can get this data? Don't take my word for it. Don't take Quentin's word for it. See for yourself what's true for you is true for you. And that and it's a testament, I think, and this is the reverse viewpoint on it. It's a testament to the fact that there are people in the church that pay hundreds, millions of dollars to the church at the end of the day to do what Hubbard designed, even though it's been altered, because they see value in it. So instead of decrying the fact that these people paid all of this money, instead of decrying that, you should take a look at it and you should go, damn, I want what they're having.
Why? What's that Budweiser commercial? Why ask why? That's why.
Yeah. Why ask why?
That's
but
why.
If people are willing to pay that kind of a money, my son had a friend of his whose dad was the guy that engineered and created the open heart surgery robot. His dad, even though he wasn't on the bridge and said, I'm gonna do the rest of my Scientology next lifetime because I've got all these other cool games to play, which is an outpoint in itself, meaning, he shouldn't be saying that, but he is. He donated. He's the largest donor to the Church of Scientology to date. He donated $40 million to the church because he felt like it was a worthy cause, but didn't want to do any services. Now, I'm saying that this is counterintuitive, but I mean, if you look at that sort of thing, and you see these people who are phenomenally able, whether they recognize it or not, and money is not an index of ability. We've done podcasts on that too. Do have. What I'm saying is that if those people are willing to do that under the conditions that the church puts them under, and all of the negative things that the church represents and everything like that, And they're obviously still getting gains. Just look at the kind of gains you could get reading a free book, doing a free course, putting the time in for yourself, for your dynamics and all the people around you, because these things cross flow, and you're going to expand and you're going to expand and you're going to see things change. It may not seem real, but Quentin and I can both testify on a stack of Dianetic books, a stack of Bibles, a stack of Qurans,
Right.
whatever.
Whatever
This,
you want to pull out.
whatever you want to pull out, it's going to aid you in what's true for you if you apply it and you put the time in. The money isn't the issue, whether you're paying it in the church or whether you're paying it in the independent field, or you're not paying anything at all to begin with, because you're being offered gems for free. All you have to do is cut them. I don't know if that's a biblical thing or not, but it kind of sounds like it.
I've never
You
heard of
know,
that.
this is the deal. And so it's, the money thing and what people pay. Oh, that's so ridiculous. But the thing is, and I also want to mention this, and I'm sure you have input on this. You get what you pay for.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows that. You say, what is that expression? The bitterness of a cheap price outweighs the satisfaction of getting something at a cheap price, kind of a thing. You get what you pay for.
Right.
But the thing is you're paying for it with your own blood, sweat, and tears. And I know that sounds efforty, and it's not. But you have to put the work in. And if you can put the work in and do something for free, and then say, wow, this is really worth something, and then you start doing it, this is how this works. It gets better, it gets better, it gets better, and it gets better. So at the end of the day, what you put
And
in is what you get out.
yeah, and we haven't even mentioned, and I don't think you mentioned it at least, the lectures, like
Yeah.
all the lectures that are
Oh
on
my God.
SoundCloud. I think it's on SoundCloud, right?
Yeah. 4,861 lectures.
So let me say this, because this is what I do. I'll use the lectures while I'm showering. Like I have like a Bluetooth speaker, and it's in my bathroom, and I'll use lectures while I'm showering and getting myself ready for the day or whatever. I'm listening to an LRH lecture. That's coming in. That's like, data, right? I'll
Mhm.
read when I have a chance to read through the website or whatever. I'll take a course when I have a chance to take a course, and I need to get better on that. But ultimately, if you feel those empty spaces, they call it empty calories when you eat junk food.
Mhm.
They say empty calories. If you feel those empty spaces with something like this, and it don't have to be every waking moment. You could elect some time throughout your day or week or whatever to do so. But if you fill some of those empty spaces with this kind of information for free, again, and then when you're ready to go in session, your session actually goes a lot faster.
That's right.
So you get a lot more
More from it.
done
Yep.
auditing
Yep.
because you know what you're doing now when you're auditing. When you go in session and you're sitting down with your auditor and your auditor is taking you through, you know what to look for. You know what's happening. You're that much more aware, right? Awareness of awareness unit,
Mhm.
awareness characteristics. You're that much more aware when you go in session, and you can then say, oh, there it is, and you pull it right out, and you get a floating needle, and you pass, and it's wonderful. And so all I'm saying is that this is a really good conversation. You got free lectures, you got free books, you got free courses, you got some inexpensive paid courses, you got some inexpensive advanced courses, and you have relatively inexpensive auditing
Yeah.
comparatively.
And less than a
So,
quarter of the church, what the church charges.
so as an independent Scientologist, those of you who are listening to this podcast, it seems to me like you have no excuse.
And
Have no excuse.
that's why I did it. That's why we did it. Is
Yeah,
is
there you go.
you take away the excuses and go, okay, here it is. What are you going to do with it? And you can look through these lectures on SoundCloud, and you can find a title of something and go, oh, that sounds interesting. And you listen to that lecture, and you'll go, I got something from that. And you go, what oh, here's one. And you do that and you go on. And before you know it, you've listened to 25 or 30 different lectures. I get emails all the time about people saying, I listen to a lecture on the way to work every day. And I can't
Yep.
thank you guys enough for giving me access to this, because it's changed my life listening to a lecture on the way to work
Yeah.
and on the way home and everything. So
Better than listen to the news.
yeah. I mean, what's less than turbulating, the news or listening to a lecture that
Right.
gives you more ability? So to wrap this up, this gives you some good comparable magnitudes of what we did and what we did in the church and what we paid for, and what we're doing now and what's available to you. And it's all a matter of just deciding to do it and taking a step and taking another step, and you'll get there. You just have to start, and things will present themselves. I mean, I don't know how many times I picked up a technical volume and I've got something going on in my life, and I know this sounds really peace, love, flowers and beads and rainbows and unicorns and stuff, but I'll grab a technical volume and I'll just open it and there's
Hmm.
what I'm looking for on the page. And I've had people tell me about that, with the Bible and with the Quran and everything.
It's called bibliomancy.
Yeah.
Bibliomancy,
Yeah.
where you need a word and you just open up the Bible and you discern a word from what comes through. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there's that much value, and there's value in everything for everyone. It's just a matter of opening your eyes and grabbing that source of information and opening yourself to it, and taking it in and digesting it and making it your own, and then applying it, and then boom, you're on your way. And just do that every day, even if it's for 20 minutes, half an hour, an hour. So we really appreciate you listening to this
Yes.
podcast all the way through. And every now and then we like to do these types of podcasts to reinvigorate people and motivate them to, change their life, because they are the change. Be the change and decide to be theta the solver, not theta the problem.
Mm.
Quentin, do you have any closing statements?
I would just say that this has been really, really invigorating for me. And I would classify myself as a spiritualist Scientologist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm always looking for the spiritual essence of a thing. The spiritual truth of it. And I even understand money as a spiritual thing, not a physical body manifestation. Like I gotta work hard for my money, that kind of thing. I
Mm-hmm.
understand money as a result of what you do and what you put out into the world, and so you get that back. And so just decide that you want to be, like you said, that theta the solver. You want to be a help to somebody in the world, and then take the money that you get from that and help yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
That's right.
That's it.
And don't forget, if it's not fun, it's not Scientology.
Yes.
So for Quentin
Love
and
it.
I, and Scientology Outside of the Church podcast, we will bid you adieu until our next podcast. Namaste, and we love you. Bye bye.
Peace.